Chapter 4 of Hope Deferred. Susan wanted as badly as she had wanted to find the wardrobe at the professor's old house to go to the Grace Church Street that very evening, but she knew it would be foolish. It would be closed by the time the train got in, and if she hoped to buy the wardrobe, which she did, she would need more money than she had with her. So she went home, set aside her hat, changed her dress, and tried to sleep. She lay, eyes open in the dark, watching memories instead. She could remember it, the wood underneath her fingers, the unexpectedness of snow underfoot, the way Lucy's voice had truly lightened since they first feared she had gone mad. The air, there was nothing like the air of Narnia. Narnia. Aslan. Oh, Aslan. Aslan. You said I was too old to go back. But can't you see I have nothing left now? Please do not let me... Please do not tell me no, not to this. Just let me have the one desire I have left. I promise I will be a woman living as no one important in Narnia. I will remain silent on the past. I will do all you require, but please give me this. Please. Morning was hours away, but hours eventually passed. Susan dressed, checked her directions, took a cab to the store. Perhaps store was misnamed, for it was a rather large building filled with mismatched furniture, all being sold for various prices. The clerk was busy when Susan entered, busy talking to a very pretty, lively girl about mirrors, and Susan turned away, seeing an echo of a person she had once been 6 years ago, before her life had been changed forever. She was different now, with the hopes and memories of a child, the purse of an adult, and the quest of a queen. She walked round past a bed, a scarlet dresser, a rug draped over a pole so it could be displayed. Round and round she went, in larger circles, past item after item of furniture, till finally there on the back wall she saw it. She knew it, as she had known the smell and sunlight in the front of a professor's house. Older, and Susan smiled through tears as she ran her fingers down the side over a new dent that had not been there before. She opened it. The fur coats were gone, but the smell of the mothballs were still there. She glanced at the price tag. It was well within her means. She would buy it, and it would be hers. But not yet, not quite yet. She opened both doors. She opened them wide and cried again at the sight of the wood. She stepped inside. The back was in shadow. Further in, hands outstretched, and she touched the back of it. The door to Narnia was not open. Not yet. It didn't matter. It would be. It had to be. Susan wiped her eyes and her face. She had done that much recently and walked out of this home, went up to the front desk, calmly explained her demand, arranged for both purchase and delivery, and went home to wait, resisting the urge to go back and view it one more time before she left. It was coming to her. She would wait. She waited a few hours, unable to pray anything except, Aslan, oh please, Aslan, grant me this, for I have nothing left. It arrived. Susan had moved into a new flat 6 years ago and had not bought much furniture since, and the wardrobe had plenty of space. The movers set it down, she paid them, and they left, leaving her standing in front of a wardrobe. She reached out, her hands trembling. She tried to clench them still, take deep breaths to calm herself, but it would not work. Hope stood in front of her, and now she would know. Suddenly she reached before she could lose all her courage or listen to her fears and swept the doors open, almost running inside, arms outstretched. 2 steps, 3, 4. She bruised her hands on the back of a wardrobe. She backed up, shut the doors, opened them again, more slowly this time. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4. The back of a wardrobe against her fingertips. She went out, shut the doors, tried it again. Nothing. There was no Narnia. By the time she had tried 7 times, she was crying. By the 12th, she was sobbing as she sank down in front of the doors, buried her head in her knees, and wept like a child. She tried again that night after supper. Only 3 tries then, just to be sure. It was 3 tries the next morning, but 2 the next afternoon. Eventually it was 1, always 1. Before those 3 days, she could not stop trying and praying. Please, Aslan, please. The 3rd day, she heard an answer as she rested her head on the wardrobe's closed door. And the answer was a deep golden sigh, a breath stirring her hair. Oh, child. Aslan, open the doors, child, but do not enter. Susan yanked on the doors, flinging them aside, and took a shuddering step back. It was black, utterly, completely black. The black of a nothingness so absolute it was nightmarish. The emptiness of a white witch's eyes, of Miraz's greed, of a darkest night without sun or stars. What is this? It is your Narnia, child. That Narnia has ended as though it had never been. Oh, oh, no, please, oh, please. His breath stirred her hair again, that wild, strong smell that was better than Narnia, and the doors swung closed. She was in England, empty, difficult England, and Narnia was gone forever. Susan crumpled to the floor. She had been given what she wanted, and it made her heart sick. It's gone. Everything's gone. I am not, said the voice. Again that smell, that gentle breath. I am not. I am enough. Susan could not stop crying. You're not here. I cannot touch you, cannot live without you. You're as much a ghost as they are. Am I? Susan remembered the past 6 years, the time she started seeking Aslan again, and the way she found him, the way he found her. He was not a ghost, and she knew it. I am the first and the last, the resurrection and the life, and nothing that is mine is truly lost. Nothing. Oh, how she needed that. Nothing was lost, not even Narnia. Even if it was lost to her, he was not lost to her. But his presence was not hers to command either, and she craved it, needed it, wanted it there daily, and it wasn't always there. She couldn't always feel it. He didn't answer that. Susan cried herself out on the floor, crying for all she could not have, for Narnia that no longer existed. When she had wept herself empty, she stayed there until she started to shiver from a cold. Finally, she got up slowly and made her way to the kitchen with weary steps, without a backward glance at the wardrobe. That door would stay shut forever. She sat down and made herself some tea. She didn't want to think, but in the quiet she had no choice. After all, he wasn't a tame lion. She had known that as long as she had known him. She had needed him before, even in that other place. Was Narnia a word she could not use now, just like her siblings' names, a name that only meant something lost? And he had not come right when she cried. The night they discovered Cair Paravel was in ruins, they realized how long they had been gone. Later alone she had cried for him, and he had not come. She had refused to believe he'd come to Lucy afterwards. The night he died on the stone table, she had not known to call to him then, but her heart had been, and he had made her wait, her and Lucy. The night they fled from Tashbaan and the wrath of Rabadash, she had begged him to help them, to make sure no others paid for her folly, and he had not come. But they had escaped. Susan set down her tea and rested herself. Each time he had come in his timing. He had corrected their wandering way with Trumpkin, risen the next morning, secured their flight from Tashbaan, even saved Archenland by their hands. He was always there. She simply had not always seen and heard him. Aslan, she called him by the name she knew better, even after 6 years. Nothing. But Lucy would have said to have faith he was listening. I don't think I can do this alone any longer, she thought. I know I'm not alone in reality, but that doesn't change the fact that I feel alone. And now Narnia is gone, and I have no other hope to cling to. She waited. There was no answer, but she thought he might be waiting too. There is that thing you wrote in this world. Our hope will not put us to shame. That means it's certain. Breathe in, calming the sounds. But it was Narnia. It was my siblings. It was everything good you gave me to love, and now it is gone. Why would you take it all and leave me? Why would you want me to keep going when there is nothing left? Only there was something left, a thing that came and went, that somehow stayed even when she felt it wasn't there. You're not gone. She closed her eyes. You're not gone. You are enough. You said you were. She hoped he meant enough for the depth of the brokenness within her, for someone so utterly destroyed. But she had no land to return to now, nothing but grey London, and a life she didn't want. The hopelessness. This was something she had seen recently. Susan could see it again, the pain breaking through the reserve of Mrs. Macready's stern old face. Mrs. Macready would have made a good centaur, Susan suddenly realized, and choked on a laugh. Laying that thought aside, though the humor brought her strength, she thought back to that moment. Mrs. Macready's pain would become another of her ghosts. Susan could feel it, if nothing were done to lift it. Another wound, a reinforcing of her own pain. Susan huddled closer to the table, to her arms. Mrs. Macready. She was not someone who would readily accept help. And Susan was not sure, as thoroughly as she had been broken, that she had enough in her to help anyone. One thing at a time, Susan thought. It had been how she had gotten hard things done there too. She would start tomorrow. She'd send a letter, now that she had the address, and maybe a letter to Uncle Harold and Aunt Alberta too. It would be even more prickly. It would be something to do, at least something that would take some of the unwelcome time away. And it would be someone to grieve with eventually. Someone else who would remember summer when everything changed. Maybe even someone to tell the stories of it to. And those always made Aslan and her siblings live for a moment. But it's still so hard. Everything is so hard. So was the stone table. So was the cross. It was the lion's voice. He had been listening. Courage, dear heart. I do not lose even one of my own, no matter how hard the way. Tomorrow Susan would write her letters. Today was to grieve everything she had lost. One more reminder in the lion's voice sounded in her ears and her heart. I have not lost anything, not Narnia, nor your siblings, and not a single tear you have shed. The way is hard, but nothing on it is lost. Take up your cross and follow me. Susan's story did not end there. The journey didn't get easier, not for many years, long, long years. But she learned to love when things were hard, and that was enough reason to keep going, till she lost Mrs. McGreedy too and fell once more. But Aslan was there, and she knew him better. She knew how much she needed him, and she knew his word better. There she found her hope, and there she stayed her hope, till at last her hope was fulfilled. Her last beginning came, and finally, when she had learned to stand fast in all circumstances, and there she found the true England and the true Narnia once more, and everything she had once lost, and she was very welcome there. But that is a story that has yet to be told. I know not how it came about, I only know it happened. The end. Thank you for listening. I hope you were blessed by this story as much as I was. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you all. Peace be to you.